All right, real quick, here's what you got to know about the Drake lawsuit. For starters, it's not a lawsuit. It's a petition. All right, listen closely. See, Drake is signed to a record label called Republic Records. Kendrick Lamar is signed to a record label called Interscope Records. Both of these record labels are owned by Universal Music Group. Now, what Drake is saying is that Universal Music Group, since it owns both him and Kendrick Lamar's music, favored Kendrick Lamar over Drake during their rap beef. Why? Well, here's where it starts to get wicked. See, Drake is in contract negotiations with Universal Music Group, but Universal Music Group had a problem. Drake made them a lot of money. So now Drake's basically like, you see how much I'm worth, Universal Music Group. For my next contract, I need that. Y'all better give me that money. They said, how much you want? He said, a lot. Now, while all this is going on, the Kendrick and Drake beef thing happened. So Drake says Universal Music Group amplified Kendrick to ruin Drake's career. So then during the contract negotiations, Universal could be like, oh, you're not worth that much now. You look terrible in front of the media. We'll give you this much. And Drake claims they basically did this through botted plays, giving Kendrick Lamar more plays like fake streams through Spotify. He claims that Spotify might be in on this too. Again, to make it look like Kendrick is doing better than he actually is and to make Drake look bad. Now, here's the problem. Remember how I told you this is not a lawsuit? This is a petition? Well, that means Drake doesn't have an insane amount of evidence. What he's basically saying is, courts, tell Universal Music Group to give me the evidence, because I, Drake, know it happened. I heard it from ex-employees. I saw it on academic stream, blah, blah, blah. Tell Universal Music Group to tell me who did it. They don't have to be the ones who did it, but someone in their company did. So who am I suing? Now, Universal Music Group responds to Drake by saying, yo, this ain't got nothing to do with us. If you want to sue somebody, sue Kung Fu Kenny. The fans choose which song becomes popular, and that's actually very important because Universal Music Group is saying, yo, people just liked his songs better, broski. Let it go. But the fans fully choosing the music might not be entirely true. Universal Music Group and Spotify are like this. They're locked in. It's been known for a long time that streaming companies favor record label artists. A record label says, yo, push this person out. The streaming company might put them on a few more playlists. Drake understands this, so he's putting Universal Music Group in a tough position because Kendrick Lamar very well might have had his plays increased. But so does every other artist under record labels. Allegedly, it's kind of like massive influencers having some fake followers. You can assume that there's some fake followers, right? But Drake's just claiming Universal Music Group did it excessively for Kendrick to make him look bad. Now, this is a massive risk for Drake. The only way Drake wins is if it comes out that most of Kendrick Lamar's streams were botted. And you have to like Drake again. Because remember, this is about label negotiation. If people say, yo, Kendrick, you botted your streams, not cool, but we're still not listening to you, Drake, then his record label is going to be like, well, we're not going to pay you. People still don't like you. But it gets worse because remember, I said that's if people find out that Kendrick botted his streams. What if Kendrick didn't bot his streams? One, people are not going to like him even more, so the label's definitely not going to pay him. And two, this is gonna look like a sore loser tactic. You lost the battle, you said, prove I lost, they prove it. It's not a good look. Now, Drake's team is aware that this is gonna make him look terrible, so they stressed, by the way, we're suing the record label. We're not suing Kendrick Lamar, everybody. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Oh, okay, this is not too bad. Drake is suing the record label, not exactly Kendrick. Well, it gets worse. Drake and his team also said, well, we're also mad that Universal Music Group allowed Kendrick to release a song talking crazy about me, saying all these terrible things about me, calling me a person who only goes after certain girls. Yes, Drake's argument is basically, that made me look bad. Universal shouldn't have allowed that to happen. This defames me. Now, again, Drake and his team haven't officially stamped this in and filed an official lawsuit because he doesn't have the evidence, but historically, defamation lawsuits saying that person made me look bad, so they basically ruined my life, are really hard to win. So I have no idea why Drake and his team would slide that in. Maybe to tie up Kendrick's songs in a legal dispute so Kendrick can't perform them at the Super Bowl. I have no idea. That's just a complete guess. There's not that much information out now, but when there is more, I'll let you know. All that is known is Drake is suing Universal because he says Universal helped Kendrick defeat Drake so Universal can get a better deal from Drake in the future. Anyway.
I've been around a lot of rappers and legal drama, and this is the best one I've ever seen when you understand it. So first, this isn't a lawsuit. It's a petition where Drake is asking the court to require Universal Music Group to give him evidence that he needs to bring a RICO lawsuit and a lawsuit alleging illegal business practices. What he says is, I don't know who the other people were involved with Universal, but under the law, Universal has to tell me who they are so I can sue them for the following: civil RICO, deceptive business practices. What these people did is they used illegal bots to make it seem like Not Like Us was a lot more popular than it actually was. They cite to an Academics interview where Academics is on stream talking to some dude, and the dude says, I got paid $5,000 and promised a % of Not Like Us in exchange for delivering 30 million fake bot streams when Not Like Us first launched so that it would seem more popular than it was and the algorithms would bump it up everywhere. What's really interesting about Drake's claim is that if you watch the Academics interview, Academics questions the veracity, the truth of this guy saying, hey bro, are you sure? Like, somebody promised you points for bot streams? There's producers and engineers and people who feature on songs who don't get a % of the song. And somebody promised you. Academics questioned this guy's story. Anyway, Drake's lawyers saw it fit for a filing in a New York state court. And they say, look, this is some evidence of the bots. Then they say that Universal typically takes a cut in order for somebody like Spotify to put a Universal song on Spotify. And that in this case, Universal wanted Not Like Us to be more popular. And so they agreed to take a lower cut and they gave it to Spotify on the low, cheaper. They paid radio for plays that, hey, Universal Music Group, in order to make Not Like Us artificially popular, paid people in radio. Apparently, they claim that all of this is illegal and that it caused damage to Drake by reducing his popularity, getting him less streams. They argue that streaming is a zero-sum game. Every time Not Like Us got streamed, it resulted in Drake not getting a stream because you necessarily can't get a stream if everybody's listening to something else on that day. And they have all these other wild allegations in there, including this idea that Universal is firing people who have loyalty to Drake and preferring people who have loyalty to Kendrick. They also claim that Universal told Drake that, hey, none of this is our problem. Your problems are with Mr. Lamar. You should sue. Kendrick Lamar's last name, by the way, is Duckworth. They say your problems are with Mr. Duckworth. You should sue Mr. Duckworth. And if you sue Mr. Duckworth, maybe we'll jump in there with you. Because what I think is happening here, first off, my mind is spinning because I can't imagine that you're relying on a source that Academics questioned and that, but here's what I think is happening. I think you might have a situation where Drake realizes that Not Like Us and everything around that song and this battle has forever tarnished his earning ability and his ability to make that money. This is what I think. Is so significantly reduced that he's got to do everything he possibly can to get it back. Even if that means filing these claims where you're out here. I would never file a claim like this if I were him, unless I guess there was that much money on the line. Because from a PR perspective, my gosh, what do we think, people? Does this play well or does this play poorly for the boy?
I think Kendrick was prepared for this. I think Kendrick knew that Drake was gonna put out this lawsuit once he dropped his album. Stay with me. We all been making the theory that Kendrick Lamar has a second album coming. I think the fact that there's 2 GNXs in this photo shows that. Not to mention, if you look right here, this says GNX CD1. CD1. My theory is Kendrick knew Drake was gonna try to steal the momentum from him by putting this lawsuit out there. So he put out a pump fake album and is preparing to drop this one to steal the momentum back. Favorite this video just in case I'm right so y'all can come back to this and say I wasn't crazy, because I don't know, this just makes sense to me, bruh.
I have no dog in this fight. I like Kendrick's music, I like Drake's music. I also think both of them have used bots via UMG, whether they knew it or not. What stood out to me in that paperwork was the accusation that UMG lowered their licensing rate by 30% for Not Like Us. Just a quick history lesson. How we even got to the value of what a stream is was based off Spotify and the three majors negotiating on what that value would be. What makes it even crazier is all three majors have actual stock and ownership within Spotify. That would be illegal in any other business in the world, but it's a music industry, so anything can fly. To the point that I worked at a major when Spotify went public, and they emailed all of us as employees and said, you cannot buy stock because that would be insider trading. Now imagine you're an artist and you know that the people that own your music plus the people that distribute your music, which is a whole separate tech company, are in cahoots to define what a dollar means within the music industry. And then you later find out that for one artist and one song, they devalued that dollar. You wouldn't have an issue with it?
With how much I talk about the Kendrick and Drake beef, people have been asking me, Sky, what do you think about these lawsuits that Drake is putting against the evil empire that pays him so well, Universal Music Group? What do you think about the fact it's the same week as Kendrick's surprise #1 album? Well, I don't have much to say about it, but I would like to tell you about baseball history. In 2007, during the World Series in which the Red Sox would sweep the Colorado Rockies, in the middle of Game 4, the rival Yankees' #1 superstar MVP A-Rod Alex Rodriguez decided that was the time to renegotiate his contract. Why he chose that time, I suppose, was to draw attention away from the Red Sox and to put the pressure on the Yankees. And this is the thing. He succeeded. He got a better contract. He would make way more money. And I guess he distracted the Red Sox fans for a second, but we still remember the Red Sox as the team of the century, and we will always remember A-Rod as a whiny, greedy baby who never won the hearts and minds of baseball fans or Yankee fans.
When I was first told about Drake suing over Not Like Us, I dead thought that I was being punked. I thought, ain't no way this man who is already lost so vividly is going to go ahead and sue like a little... Lo and behold, he's actually doing it. Imagine getting so thoroughly, so ruthlessly dragged in a rap beef that you run to your lawyers. Imagine the whole world laughing at you, so you go ahead and you sue because of a track. How fragile is this man's ego? Like, he really can't believe that Not Like Us was just like a generic hit. He's going to put money behind lawyers in a lawsuit. This is so embarrassing. Like, this is so embarrassing. This is my favorite part. So this filing argues that UMG had a ploy that created the false impression that the song was more popular than it was in reality. I cannot believe what I'm reading.
He a fan, 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 he a...
A heated feud between two popular rappers is now turning into a legal battle. Drake has filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, or UMG, claiming it falsely inflated the popularity of Kendrick Lamar's song, Not Like Us. Lamar released the single back in May as a diss track against Drake. According to Spotify, the song has more than 900 million streams, but Drake's suit argues that UMG used bots and launched a pay-to-play scheme to increase those numbers and make the song go viral. UMG denies the claims. It's also worth noting Drake is currently represented by Republic Records, which is a division of UMG.
I think Drake is going through the earliest midlife crisis we've ever seen.
Is it a midlife crisis or is it a bit of arrested development?
It could be both.
I think just after what he's been through this year, he's just resetting a little bit.
He did cut his hair.
You know how they say with women, not to call Drake a woman, but if a woman cuts her hair, she has gone through a lot of stuff.
When somebody is going through a midlife crisis is when they buy the big fancy red car. Everybody else is looking at you like, yo, that's great, but wait, what the fuck?
The drop top too.
And that's what I feel like is happening with Drake. You shouldn't wear two braids with barrettes in your hair, but because you're Drake, you get the slack, you get the leeway.
Yeah, I see a dude who doesn't want to really embrace going into his 40s. You see,
You did say this with the project. I don't know if it was For All the Dogs or something, but like the shit that he was rapping about.
And I loved For All the Dogs, but to realize and understand that, oh wow, this is the content you're kind of still in your life. Because again, art imitates life. It just is a reflection of what's going on right now. For example, Schoolboy Q put out Blue Lips, and on that project, you hear a 38-year-old who wants to embrace his 40s. He's talking about feeling older, understanding that he's not as young as he once was. Well, Drake is not like that. It's more like, nah, son, like, you know, I'm still fly. And I think he is.
Not even 20 minutes ago, I made a video about Drake taking legal action against Universal Music Group about them allegedly artificially inflating Kendrick Lamar's numbers for Not Like Us, and they just responded. In a response several hours after the news broke, a UMG rep told Variety, quote, "The suggestion that UMG would do anything to undermine any of its artists is offensive and untrue. We employ the highest ethical practices in our marketing and promotional campaigns. No amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans choose the music they want to hear." Mic drop. One more time, no amount of contrived and absurd legal arguments in this pre-action submission can mask the fact that fans choose the music they want to hear. Like just Friday, Kendrick Lamar dropped a surprise mixtape, album, whatever you want to call it, and now Drake took legal action against the record label they both share, and the record label just said, listen, people just like his fucking music, sorry. I mean, there's still no telling, but I wonder how this is all going to go. Because again, Drake didn't technically file a lawsuit. It was a pre-action petition. So I guess we'll see where the chips land. But so far, this is not looking good. And I feel like if this actually turns into a real lawsuit, things can get really messy. So maybe it would end amicably and he could just like leave the label or something. But a lawsuit, oh no. I don't know if anybody's ready for that.
I want to know who on Drake's team thought that this would be a good idea to sue Universal Music Group and Spotify, accusing them of artificially inflating Not Like Us, because it just makes him look like a whiny little kid pointing the finger saying like, they did it, you see? Listen, I am no rap stan, but the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef was obviously so huge this year. Like Drake, I love and respect Kendrick Lamar and definitely took his side during all this beef. This is not looking good in the optics of winning anything, let alone winning a rap beef. Because we all know that when Not Like Us dropped, it was over. And just to be clear, a lawsuit hasn't officially been filed. This is sort of like a pre-lawsuit thing that was filed on Monday. It just looks so bad, and it's only gonna give Kendrick even more ammo. I don't know, I personally think that Drake should have continued to lay low for the rest of the year. He's just being so petty, especially with the announcement of his tour in Australia being on the same day as Kendrick's Super Bowl performance. It's just giving whiny baby to me. We all know Drake has been whiny for years, but this is embarrassing. What do you guys think of this news that Drake is getting ready to sue Universal Music Group and Spotify over Kendrick's Not Like Us? Let me know in the comments.